Now it's my really very immense pleasure to introduce you and to welcome Luke O'Shaughnessy to you. Luke is here with us. He works at Opera Europa, the network that we decided to partner up with as a strategic partner in the performing arts, connecting the theaters of Europe together with the operas of Europe. There are a lot of our members who are already members also in Opera Europa in the several branch theater houses. So we are looking for synergies also in exchanging information, in working, but also especially in the field of digitization. And we invited Luke to come to Tbilisi to talk about the platform, the digital platform that he is in charge of and managing, which was the Opera Europa platform for the last 4 years, and it changed into Opera Vision. And Luke will be telling us all about it for the next 30 minutes. And then we will invite you to split in small groups. You have numbers on your little chairs, 1, 2, 3. It's very easy. There are corners in the room, 1, 2, 3, and we ask you to go to those areas where we will be discussing subjects that he is raising, and we are looking again also for your thoughts on it so that we can collect information on the situation and the wishes also that you have. But now I think Luke will explain all of this to us, and I let the floor to you.
Thank you, Heidi, very much. Yeah, this session is billed as a workshop, so that means active participation. I'm not going to ask you immediately to get up and run around, but there will be, hopefully, especially important after a very nice Georgian lunch to have something a bit active, so beware. Opera streaming and audiences. I'm going to talk a bit about opera, a bit about streaming, slightly less about audiences because it's so difficult, but let's have a go. So Opera Europa, 170 members across Europe, mostly opera houses. I'm very humbled to be here, especially having listened this morning to all the innovative digital things that are going on. Opera is the kind of the slow one, often a bit behind in the area of the performing arts. These big institutions, not always at the cutting edge. But I'm going to talk about a platform that we've created and hopefully get you to think a little bit about what lessons there may be for other sections of the performing arts. So in 2014, Opera Europa launched a streaming platform. Of course, professional networks can do a lot of things. We had a session earlier about the different things that they can do. We felt it was important to have a platform that shows the diversity of opera today. So we're very much centered on showing what opera is across Europe. There are a number of reasons for doing it. I've already given one from the point of view of our organization, Opera Europa, promoting the art form. But there are lots of other reasons as well. There are a few of them there. I've deliberately put that in a completely random order. Maybe by the end of today's session we might have an answer about what is important to you, were you to get more involved, if you aren't already, in the area of streaming. Is it about potentially making some revenue? Is it about the promotion of an art form? Is it about audiences? We heard also this morning some great examples of how digital technology is pushing the boundaries of creativity. Could it be about artistic development too? Is it some mix? Does each theatre and each opera house have some different formula for which are the most important? I'm not going to answer those straight away, but maybe collectively we can answer them later. Why? Well, let's just try, shall we? Yeah. 2 minutes of music. I don't know what it is. It's going to cut my microphone. Okay, just to get us in the mood.
I need to put it. Okay.
think about those questions over some nice Debussy.
J'entends pleurer. Oh, qu'y a-t-il là au bord de l'eau? Une petite fille qui pleure au bord de l'eau. Elle ne m'entend pas, je ne vois pas son visage. Pourquoi pleures-tu? N'ayez pas peur, vous n'avez rien à craindre. Pourquoi pleurez-vous ici toute seule?
Ne me touchez pas! Ne me touchez pas!
Oh. N'ayez pas peur, je ne vous ferai pas. Oh, vous êtes belle.
Ne me touchez pas! Ne me touchez pas! Ou je me jette à l'eau!
Je ne vous touche pas. Voyez, je resterai ici contre l'arbre. N'ayez pas peur. Quelqu'un vous a-t-il fait du mal?
Oh oui! Oui!
Qui est-ce qui vous a fait du mal?
Tous! Tous!
Que mal vous a-t-on fait?
Ne veux pas me dire et je...
Shame to cut it. Debussy, of course, doesn't stop. So just a little taste of a live stream, which I will tell you about in a moment from 2 weeks ago. Can we go back? Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah. Can we go back to the presentation? Up. Sure. Next. We have Facebook activity already. Jan is busy posting. But we're not. What are the obstacles to streaming? Again, I won't answer the question right away, but these are the key issues for us. If you wanted to create a platform or do streaming yourselves, what are the issues in terms of stopping you doing that? Is it about money? Is it the cost? There's a camera there, an iPhone on a tripod. We're being filmed now. Is it the cost? Is it rights? I'm not sure I've agreed the rights. Is the rights issue a key blocking factor to every arts organization in the world to doing streaming? Is it actually we don't quite have the skills, or you don't have the skills? Or is it that you feel that if you did a streaming platform that maybe not enough people would watch it? Is it about dissemination? So, I've got some answers to those questions on the basis of this experience with the Opera platform, but those are the key questions, really. Perhaps not in that order. I'll probably put rights at the top. But those are really the key questions in thinking about the world of streaming, as I'm sure many of you know already. And of course, good or bad for audience. That's the thing that people want to know. That's the thing you perhaps hope in this session might give you an answer to. I have some more anecdotal than scientific experience, but I will touch on that. And okay, enough about opera at one point, and of course, we need to know whether it's relevant for you. And those are some of the issues that will come up in small groups. So in 2014, actually in May 2015, we launched the Opera platform. The Opera platform was funded by those nice people in the top right-hand corner, as you're looking at it. And the idea was a European opera season, free, live, on demand. That's the selling point. We opened with this performance of La Traviata, good, nice show to start with, popular title from Teatro Real. And we somehow managed at that particular point to have a peak because we captured a bit of press interest at that time. New York Times and some big media organizations started to follow us and said, what is this? Who are these little Europeans who decided to do a European opera platform? The little Europeans in question are this lot. So Opera Europa taking the lead. We were working with, at the time, with Arte, the Franco-German arts broadcaster that many of you will know, who really had the expertise to build a platform. They know about streaming, they do that organization. And we pulled together a group of 15 opera houses from different parts of Europe, deliberately choosing some big names. I'm afraid we work in a brand society, so we wanted some big brands. Royal Opera House, Covent Garden, among them. That is august institution in Vienna. And deliberately we chose a group that mixed that experience of those who know about streaming and those who are new. Now the idea was really to offer one live stream every month. So to have a completely free access, thanks to the funding from the European Commission. No sign up. You just click on, at the time, theoperaplatform.eu to find a range of content, going from live streams, complete performances. Subtitles was important at the time. We thought it important to subtitle in 6 languages. We've slightly changed our mind about that now. So at the time, each production was subtitled in English, French, German, Spanish, Italian, and Polish as the most spoken languages on our continent. Each time, those 15 partners really had their own space within the opera platform as it was at the time. The thinking being, this is a tool to promote the art form of opera and to encourage people to go and see what's happening in opera houses. If you live in Helsinki, it's not easy to get on a plane and go and see what's happening in Vienna. So the idea is, rich or poor, wherever you are, who has time, except us lucky people who work in the arts, to go around opera houses and see this content. And of course, like Heidi does when she's doing a funding application, we also put together some supporting and underlying and very real motivations for doing this. Creating a platform, yes, but also developing the sector, trying to look at the rights situation, trying to get the skills in the sector better, financial models, think about the relationship with broadcasters, which I'll come back to, and of course create a place where you can see the home of opera on the net. A few idea about the scale. So in all, from May 2015 up until September just gone, or end of August, we streamed 68 full productions. Of course, Opera Europa is a big organization which has lots of members, so there was a little pressure also to make sure that other theaters, apart from those 15, were also involved. So we had some other content from other theaters. And each time the idea is to put this stuff in context. Okay, although we were working with an established broadcaster, we were trying to think in modern internet terms, not in old school broadcasting terms, and use the potential of the net to give all the rest. On that 320 other material was all the other material that you can easily build around a live stream performance. So the trailers, the interviews, the backstage, the animated cartoon explanations of the plot, all that is built alongside what goes on in the opera platform. Audiences, well, the only way that sad people like me can actually follow what's going on is just count clicks, I'm afraid. Well, not actually clicks, actually audience video views. So Arte was dealing with our technological side. They spent their time doing the figures, and there they are for what they're worth. There have been 3 million and also video views That's all the content that is on the site that has been seen over the 25 months of the first part of the project. And interestingly, although we said, oh, it's so important to have all this contextual material, not just long-form content, who wants to watch a whole opera online sort of thing, but interestingly, that's what has been watched. It is in fact the full-length opera. We don't know how long people necessarily stayed watching it, but it is that has been the draw to this platform being seen, is that you have the possibility, if you live in Georgia, to see a full performance of what is happening in Helsinki. But we were a little bit frustrated by that balance, because a lot of effort goes into making 320 short films, and a lot of effort goes into doing one long-form capture of the thing as well. But I think the reason for that balance is also the fact that the model is 15 partners, each in a different country. Each time they do a live stream, they talk to their audiences and say, wow, our new production of Carmen is going on the Opera platform, check it out. So that has been a successful model, and probably means, although I don't have detailed breakdown about the audience demographic, it probably means we've got a lot of opera lovers watching, I guess. What do we know? We know where they are. And this is fairly interesting just in terms of that shift from the broadcast world to the internet world, which of course is all merging into something new, as we were hearing this morning. What's interesting is about that, although we were working with Arte, our reach has been truly European, in that the most populous country and one of the biggest opera nations in the world is where people are watching most. And the smaller countries like Latvia, we just picked on those countries because those are the countries where the opera platform has official partners. A small country like Latvia has a smaller amount. But in old broadcast terms, that's quite innovative, because the reach of, say, a wonderful broadcaster like Arte is basically Franco-German. Not many people watch Arte in my country, in London. So that just shows a bit of the potential reach of, and so 80% in Europe, and then a few outside. I'm going to be quick if we've got to have time to get you thinking as promised. This was an experience strong enough for us to want to continue. So just 2 weeks ago, we launched the next phase, which is called Opera Vision. For the anecdote, Arte didn't want us to keep the same name, because we're no longer working with Arte. We feel that opera houses can basically do it for themselves these days, and broadcasters are wonderful people, and thank goodness that an organization like Arte exists. I live in France, and I'm very happy that Arte is there. But in terms of the opera houses and what it brings, we feel more and more that these people, like football clubs and also no doubt like theatres as well, have the means these days to do it for themselves. So Opera Vision, no Arte, more partners. We lost our friends in Vienna because they have their own system where they ask people to pay. We also lost our friends in Lyon, but basically the same group came back and has again got some European funding to run a new second pilot phase. Those of you who like logo spotting will enjoy that slide, but otherwise, if not, that's the list. So a good range of countries, 17 countries and 30 partners. Russia and Switzerland only being out of alphabetical order because they're not beneficiaries, like the Georgians, of Creative Europe money. So they are partners, but not direct beneficiaries or signatories of our aim. And again, the idea is really just to be able to do more for when we were working with Arte, they're, of course, mixing this with their usual offer. For us, we want to be the home of opera on the internet, and so we need to be able to offer much more in terms of content. 1 month is not enough. So the ambition now is to do every 2 weeks a live stream from one of these places. Just a little bit about the site. I don't think some people have got Wi-Fi. You can look at it. It's very boring to have people presenting statically as a website that you just want to hopefully explore around. But just to come back to that idea of the content being, yes, based on these long-form, full-length events, live streams, that's exciting. You get to see a whole opera. If you love opera, you can watch it from your bedroom, from 7 o'clock in the evening until whatever, 11 o'clock if it's Wagner. But we absolutely want to make sure in this phase that we get more out of the short form material, that effort, because of course that is how people consume stuff digitally these days. So on that slide we have a section called New to Opera. We have these different sections called Stories and Library, and we hope different ways in, although at the top we still remain, the next live stream is still important, but also we're looking for other ways in, which I think is important, whether you're new to opera or whether you're interested in different types of short form content. We also feel we have a role for young singers, so we have some content with them in mind, or young artists. And of course, these people are important to us all. And we hope that some of the content we will now commission will be, oops, sorry, that way. And so we launched on the 15th, just a few days ago, with this live broadcast of Pelléas and Melisande from the Komische Opera in Berlin. I've been listening to it non-stop, which is why I had to share it with you. I think it's a fantastic show. Barikovsky, many of you will know, which was streamed live on the first night from the Komische. So that's our launch program up until Christmas. 5 minutes on practicalities before I get you thinking. So let's be a bit concrete. I've done enough showing off. Let's talk about the key issues. My first category, number 1, legal, financial, technical. Okay, so what did we ask these opera houses? We asked them, if you want to be part of the project, you've got to give us 1 rights-cleared full-length production a year. Okay, so, these opera houses do a lot of opera. We're only asking for 1, which means that for the Royal Opera House in London, if they're putting stuff in cinemas, they can say, okay, that one goes in cinemas, but that one, maybe we could give it to Operavision. We asked them to give us subtitles. Previously, Arte did all that work, which was expensive, but because the same European money is now split between 30 and not 15, we had to delegate some things. So each of our devoted partners provides these operas subtitled, English, French, and German. And of course, this contextual material, which is absolutely key. Well, how do they do it? I mean, you will know some of this already. Some, and I'm afraid to say increasingly, they are increasingly less numerous, work with the local broadcaster. So our lucky friends in Norway, I don't know where, get to work with the NRK. Our friends in Finland also have a relationship with Yle, the national broadcaster. But mostly, the Komische Opera, they do it by themselves. They hire an independent AV technical company who, for I think probably in the region of 30,000 euros, give them the whole thing. They stream, they do the live, and for that amount, they do that. Some, and you've got to be probably quite big and quite rich to be able to do this, have their own in-house team. So that big place in London, in Covent Garden, they have their own setup, and they do it themselves. In fact, they bought a company called Opera and brought it in-house. And so they're able, in their basement, to do this live streaming. But the middle way seems to be the way forward. And we think that, well, what does it cost? Sorry, I'm English, so I've got a slide in pounds. But you can do the rough conversion, euros into pounds, or I won't do the euros into the local currency here. But we feel that this is the scale. And we are definitely here. And that's very few organizations that are going to pay that much. We feel that it should be possible with 5 cameras. We normally ask for at least 5 cameras to do a show, to do an online streaming. That's in our experience. Some of you will know the wonderful work of the National Theatre in London, the National Theatre beaming into cinemas in your cities. They spend that much, but we are not in that area at all. 500,000, forget it. We're about doing things cheaply, and we're convinced that this is the way forward in terms of content. That is the cost of, that's the overall envelope: rights, production, distribution, equipment. But, yeah, if you're spending 100,000 euros or equivalent on a streaming project, you probably can't. Well, that's too much. We feel that certainly around the 30 mark is what it should be. The other aspects of the bill, I'll do it in reverse order because it's the easiest. I've said about the AV production company, we reckon that 30,000 is enough to get you a good 5-camera capture and stream. Artist fees. We worked a lot because opera is this tentacular European art form. We work a lot with the agents, and we managed to negotiate with the organization that is the umbrella organization for the agents, the IAMA, and we said to them, look, come on, you're soloists. This is good for them. So they shouldn't, and there are probably many theatre people and even actors in the room, but our feeling, at least for opera, is that artists on stage soloists should not ask for any more money. That this should be part of their overall contract, and extra fees because you're going out on the internet, I think, are a thing of the past. But of course, everything is different. I, of course, haven't mentioned the idea of the chorus and the orchestra, which varies in many places. What we found most difficult is the publishers, who works in copyright. And here we've made also a recommendation. We said for this project, dear Schott or dear Boosey and Hawkes or dear Baronreiter, whatever it is, those publishers. Of course, if the work is still in copyright, those authors and those librettists and composers deserve something. It's their work that we're showing. But we've, at the beginning, had the most crazy asks. People asking for like 30,000 euros, publishers, nameless publishers, asking for 30,000 euros for the pleasure of streaming online. This economy does not work. So we made a recommendation that we think that around 3,000 euros is a reasonable price to pay for to enable the rights to a publishing company, to enable the rights of that copyright work, Debussy's estate, to be streamed online. The Commerce ended up paying slightly more, and also if you're Vienna or Paris or London, you would probably expect to pay a bit more. But that's our recommendation, and it's mostly worked. Again, trying to drive the cost down to make this feasible. Right, I'm going on too much, but I'll just 2 quick things. Audiences, I don't have the golden answer about audiences, but I'll just show you 2 slides. The first one is from the UK. The BBC did a bit of research about, okay, who's watching? And they came up a year and a half ago with these figures that show that 26% of the UK population has some link to live to digital work. So we feel that there is that audience out there. The second thing is a bit of an odd jump, but bear with me. I talked about short form. It's not an answer to the who comes audience, but I think it's important. It's our dear friend, our dear Maria Callas. An opera begins long before the curtain goes up and ends long after it comes down. It starts in my imagination. It becomes part of my life. It stays part of my life long after I've left the opera house. In terms of audiences, that's what we're trying to do with a platform like this. We're trying to give them the beginning, the live, and the afterwards with all this digital material. And I think in terms of thinking about your audiences, that's not the answer to whether it's good for audiences or not. But I think it's certainly a journey that you should be taking, or we're encouraging our opera houses to take. The Komische Opera, I mentioned before, initially in this project they said, okay, we'll be part of it, but we're probably going to show you some stuff from the archives, and no, we'll try and be part of it. Now, as you saw from Pelias, they stream the opening night. It's not even like the third performance. They stream the live of the opening night. Because, well, Barry Kofsky's a clever man, and he has decided that is good for his house. Okay, in Berlin, it's a wonderful place. There's lots going on in Berlin, and the Komische does quite well anyway. But he feels that drives the audiences. People will go and maybe watch a bit of it, like we've just seen, and go, I'll see that. And that certainly, it's anecdotal, but it's certainly, we feel the shift that is starting to happen. Opera and theatre. So 2 was audiences, 3 opera and theatre. As Heidi's explained, we're trying to get a bit closer, Opera Europa and etc. What are the ways we can do that? I just wanted to show you here, alongside Heidi and the colleagues, we are also looking to celebrate the Year of Cultural Dialogue. No? Oh, Freudian slip. That was a few years ago, sorry. The Year of Cultural Heritage. So this is just, so you see, this is an avant-premiere of our program for next year. And in the group that could think about opera and theatre being close together, some of you might get some inspiration from there. Of course, the world of opera and theatre are close. And there may be titles there that inspire you artistically in some link with opera. I'm rather embarrassed to say that there's only one piece, and it's here, Stephen Macduff, that is made for digital. The majority of things there are about capture of what happens on the live stage. And there was we heard this morning some innovative capture and digital platform, but for now only have one made for digital. Digitally specific piece. And again, this is something we'd like to do more of. So this headwind from the Welsh National Opera will only be in a digital form. And we think a platform like ours should be about promoting that. But as you see, for now, it's quite close. Okay, so we don't run over time. Here, we have 3 groups. And I'm going to set these challenges to these 3 groups. The first will be, you've heard a bit about our experience. What would be the obstacles in your theatre, if you're not doing it already, to streaming? And how would you get over it? So those people are going to go with Heidi here. The second group would be, how would you make a theatre streaming platform useful for audience development? I've only given you a small bit about it. In fact, there'll be an opportunity tomorrow, I think, to talk more in the audience development session about it. But that group in group 2 with James. And then the third group is, you've heard a bit about our experience. How could opera and theatre work more closely together? And because we're going to try and stick rigidly to times, you have no choice. Your chair dictates where you're going to go. Look at your back of your chair. 2, 3, or 1. So please, we're going to be very quick. I'd like you to, just as a group, answer those questions, and we will try. We, in fact, now, because I've spoken so long, only got 20 minutes left. So you're going to have 10 minutes. And number 3, sorry, Maha, number 3 at the back on there. So take your number and move chairs.
One of the obstacles that was mentioned is that you miss the live atmosphere of the performance in theater. Another thing that was pointed out was that what you gain is that if you film a theater piece, you can also get much closer to actors and get a new kind of form in itself. And then it was an obstacle finding audience for your broadcasting. And an obstacle was mentioned was that it's extra work for your employees if they have to think about where to broadcast this. So that was, and also maybe finances, of course, that goes along with that. But that was the main issues, yeah.
And the solutions?
The solutions is, what were the solutions? Yeah, I don't know what the solutions are. Work in progress, yes.
We crossed over a bit in both 1 and 3 because one thing always leads to another in this discussion. And we were fortunate enough to have one of our members in our group who actually does do not live streaming but on demand. And so we had that experience to draw on. But everybody in the group currently uses video in some ways in the contextual way of trailers. So there's these trailers going on for promotion. From the experience, the video was being made available on YouTube and I think Vimeo, but there's therefore an attraction of young people because that's where an audience is, and I think the nature of the content itself was also appealing to young people. It was also particularly interesting for promotional opportunities for touring, in that there was a fully documented show that was available there to be seen, and so it was excellent sales material. One of the things we talked about streaming, slicing it a bit, is also just the video production, that there was an interest in at least producing the video for whatever purpose, not whatever purpose, but that's more than just streaming is the opportunity. TV was also still an opportunity. So as long as being recorded, it could be sold to TV, it can be streamed live, it could be made available on demand. And it also provided resources for teachers, which is particularly interesting, I thought. And we also had a good discussion, or a brief discussion, thinking that it's not necessarily appropriate to all types of theater. We found theater versus opera potentially difficult anyway, for a number of reasons, and that it might not be appropriate for every type and every scale of production. And that for something like a large Robert Wilson thing somewhere where there can be the hype and whatever that, it's maybe more interesting for a live event rather than a small black box type situation or community event. It might not be appropriate to all circumstances. So it's determining what is this production and what are the best ways to take advantage of these things for it. Anyway, that's what's.
Great, thanks a lot. I didn't say, but we actually use YouTube now. We're taking the lead from the Royal Opera House in Covent Garden that when it does live streaming, they always go out on the YouTube channel, which has 200,000 followers on the YouTube channel. So we feel that if our aim is to be a promotional tool for the art form of opera, we need to be where people are. So yeah, we're on YouTube. That's an interesting point, and absolutely, James, the archiving is so key, and that's for some houses why they're in it. They think, great, we can get this important work filmed, and I agree. Who was?
Yeah. A lot of what James said already, we discussed also in our group, and we were talking a lot about the differences between theater and opera, and found that it is much easier to live stream opera because of the music, actually, because it's a little bit more, like in terms of direction, more static, and even if the live streaming or the visual part of it is not as fulfilling as you would dream of, you still have the music you can listen to. So theater, as opposed to opera, is much more similar to film and TV, which at first sight does seem to make it more easy, but at the same time it doesn't obey the rules of film. So it is very hard to create something that can easily be live streamed, and we very quickly came to the point that there will be artistic differences, because actually there is a director in theater who wants to take control of his artwork, and he would also like to take control of the video that is streamed. On the other hand, it should be an art form in itself, just as the little trailers that we use, but here most directors say, I don't care because it's just for promotion, it's only for 3 or 5 minutes. But if you have like 90 minutes or 2 hours, it has to be something that is really representing his or her work as an art form. So there must be either another video director, video artist taking care of that, taking over the material and producing something, or he himself he or she must do that themselves, which is quite difficult to achieve. So that is this artistic problem that we saw. Then we found out that theater is much more local than opera, actually. And even if you have a classic, you would maybe interpret it on a more local or national level, or sometimes, mostly very local. And the question is if that is interesting for an international audience. Then the language problem in general, I mean, as I said, in opera you have music at least, and it's surtitled anyway. I mean, this is not so much a thing that can be solved with surtitles. Yes, it was mostly actually the artistic problem that we saw. And we found out that there is obviously in theater a lot of objection or critical thinking towards live streaming, and we thought, how would it be possible that we can describe that as an opportunity for the artists to create something new artistically and also for promotion, of course, because it is, of course, also a promotional tool. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, well, very interesting to have your feedback. I mean, for our organization, it's very much a promotion of the art form of opera. That's really what we're about. And we're trying to drive audiences, of course, to see opera. You know, there are many hours in the day. Of course, in the back of people's mind, they may think, oh, if they watch it online, they won't come to our theater. I would say these days that's not the message. And look, you've identified within your groups some of the obstacles, but as you've heard, our door is open, and we're trying to, potentially see how we can learn from each other. So, if there are any comments, or if that program I put up has any ideas, we would be very inspires any ideas. We would be happy to talk to you and see how we might collaborate. Any last points or questions? Yeah.
Do you think from your own expertise now, are we at the threshold and this is
Yeah.
We made the survey, no one is streaming, everyone has trailers, or is this just something we can do with extra money? And once the funding is gone, also for your press,
Mm.
you have to stop. It's on the way out.
I mean, I grew up with gramophone records and CDs. I'm that old, so you know, to me, this is the way. Yeah, this is what people are doing now. This is the modern means of sharing work. There's not enough hours in the day to watch all this stuff, but I think it's not an excuse not to do it. And I think that's why we only ask one production from our partners. You know, there needs to be, you know, some threshold, and you can't stream everything, and not everything is appropriate to be streamed. And as you mentioned, you know, there needs to be a strong artistic case too. But yes, I think everyone will be doing it now and again, and even if this big, slow opera sector can manage, you know, within. I hear the arguments about music, and that music goes over frontiers in the way language doesn't. But
Maybe one
I would
last
say yes.
question then from James.
You were in a fantastic position to be able to offer this service for free to
Yeah.
people, and that creates the least barriers also
Yeah.
for the viewers to get access to it. Do you see any, or have you heard from the other business models of people charging for it, or can it be sponsored? Is there a way to make it
Yeah.
less costly, or to even earn profit?
Yeah. Well, we have fierce debates, especially with our friends in Vienna. Vienna have a very well-established opera house, which is very well known all throughout the world. They believe very strongly that artists, that the model should be paying. So they do have a live stream service where you pay. You pay €9 to see a live stream. That's not, and we're very happy if they can do that. But if you're the Latvian National Opera, there's no way that they do wonderful work, but nobody in Australia is going to pay €5 to see the live stream. So I think, James, to answer your question, I think yes, but you need to be realistic. And of all our companies, well, Vienna are trying to use their model to persuade other houses. So they may manage to persuade a few, maybe Teatro Real, maybe the house in Amsterdam, few that may be convinced. But I think for the most part, this is about the promotion of the work and not about making money. They were very cross that we don't even have a sign-up form. So that Vienna could have been persuaded to stay, although they think could be about making money. But we decided, thanks to our funders in Brussels, to really make the door as open as possible. We now have a 20,000 emailing sign-up group. So people are starting. We capture some data, but generally we made the choice to make it
access to the arts. It's a fantastic
Super
approach. I think at this moment we'd like to stop here, and I thank very much Luke for his insights, his sharing of experiences, and also getting us talking about the subject. This will continue over the next this afternoon and tomorrow.